wanted to try to DJ more. And so he connected me with this guy who owns First Class Entertainment, Blake Hunter. And so Blake had a gig in Corpus Christi, and I was so hungry to DJ weddings, I told him I'd carry his gear for free. I would take this 3.5-hour trip to Corpus. I would carry all of his gear. All I wanted to do was learn. And he was really, really surprised. He's like, man, he thought it was half crazy. You sure you want to do this? And I just was so hungry to just learn more about it. And event DJing is so different than playing electronic and doing the clubs downtown. It's a different animal. And so I went with him. He was great. I learned a lot. I kept on carrying his gear and for free. And he kept on laughing. He's like, this kid just won't go away. And he gave me my first gig at a smoke shop in like Round Rock, Texas. And the training was terrible. He didn't really train me anything. And I didn't know how to hook up the mixer, and someone else had to set up the sound. And it was really awkward, and I was like an hour late to what I was supposed to do. But I just kept doing it. And
I think one of the first pieces of advice you gave me to get into this is don't be late. If you want to be successful, be on time or be early.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a good point. You want to show up early. And what's funny is for that gig, I still was early. I was still an hour and a half early. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. Didn't know how to set up a mixer. And so theoretically, if you do events, you should test your sound the day before, right? And find out what's wrong the day before and have your music and be prepared. That way, when you show up the day of, that's not the time to figure crap out. Like everything should be figured out. The clients should have a good relationship with you. You should just kick ass. And so, sorry, it's such a long-winded story of how I did this, but after First Class Entertainment, I was working at LegalZoom, and luckily the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, I got fired from my job. And had I not gotten fired from my job at LegalZoom, I'd still be there hating my life. And since I got fired, I had a good severance pay. I got the ambition to try to start something on my own. I did the bridal extravaganza. I can't recommend that enough if you're trying to get into the industry. It was awesome. I learned so much. It's insane. There's thousands of people there, and it's kind of a madhouse. And you're emotionally and mentally and physically drained by the end of it, because it's so many conversations. And I'm somewhat of an extrovert, but even for me, at the end of 4 or 5 hours of talking, you're just drained. And Complete Weddings had seen me there, and they were really, really impressed with me. And so he wanted for me to be the director of sales. I learned a lot from them. I helped them with their packaging. I learned what you can do with a multi-service, multi-operational event company. And then from there, I went and I did another DJ company, Spark the Night Entertainment, where I met Nima Vidadi. Shout out to my boy. And after that, that guy had baby mama drama and moved to California and left me and Nima by ourselves. And we needed gigs and we were worried. And so that's how Full Scope started.
Was it already Full Scope, or did you rename it to that? What was the inspiration behind that?
Full Scope was a challenge. I tried to not take naming and branding lightly, and I struggled with the name for a long time. Zach Zoltz for the Almost Real Things, shout out to Zach, he helped me with my branding. And he came up.
He's very good at that.
Very good.
He's helped Universal Exchange with its branding too.
Yes.
So double shout out.
Double shout out. If you need good graphic design, you need a good friend to listen to and just hang out with and go have a beer with or whatever, just spend time. If you want to be introduced to some amazing art, you know, Zach has been such a long time friend and mentor and just awesome person that I'm lucky to have. And he came up with 6 to 8 names for my wedding company. And so I got somewhat of a survey and feedback from as many event planners and venue owners and people I could get advice from. So instead of just blindly saying, oh, that works, let's just jump into this. I mean, I got a lot of feedback and I almost went with a bad name. The name of my company was almost Party Heroes, which
that sounds like a video game after Rock Band and Guitar Hero. Party Heroes.
It sounds like some dumb frat boys that were left to their own devices to think of what a wedding company should be called. And I wanted there to be a philanthropic, you know, tie to it and to help people. And that's kind of where it came up with. But it just, luckily, a planner was like, Steven, don't do this. Don't name your company Party Heroes. It sounds like some guys that are ready to do cake stands. You want to be more professional than that. I like Full Scope. And I wish I remembered her name, which one it was, but I was like, all right, let's do Full Scope. And I think I used Fiverr for the logo. It's not like life-changing, but it works. It's a cheap way to get designs for like 20 to 40 bucks. Mm-hmm. But if you want something better than Zach or someone else in the community, it would help you.
Absolutely. What would you say, you know, if you're an up and coming DJ, what would be, you know, some of the top things that you would recommend like spending money on if you're going to grow your personal brand, or what are like some of the areas that you would kind of focus on first? Because I don't think there's definitely not one proven formula to how to go from 0 to 100. Not like any of us here at 100 yet, but obviously have been able to figure out some things that have worked and stick to that. But, you know, for someone that's getting started or maybe just hasn't seen that growth, like where would you see investing in yourself make the most difference in your future output?
Yeah. You have to decide, what kind of DJ you're going to be. Because for me, there are 3 main sections of DJs, just me personally. For me, there is of course, electronic house, or just DJ that plays music that you like and you are not going to really, you just want to play your music, which is totally cool. And I love doing that too. And I do that. Then I would say there's the club DJ. So in the city that you live in, playing at the bars and the clubs, you play what's called open format music. What does open format mean? You're playing the hits that people like, but you're playing newer hits. You know, I mean, for us, we're in Austin, Texas. You're probably playing to a lot of college kids. So you're playing their genres that they would like, and you can blend it in and out. Then for me, there's a third type of DJ. This is my bread and butter. Without this DJing, I would be in the call center again. And I owe my whole existence and my happiness and my financial success to this DJing, and I'm very blessed for it. And I'd say it's the event DJ. What does that mean? That means I do weddings, I do bar bat mitzvahs, I do corporate events, and there are unbelievable amounts of those in Austin. It's like the stars. There are so many wedding venues. I mean, Full Scope, we do 200 events a year, roughly. This year, it's going to be slightly different. And we're not a big company. There are way bigger companies than us doing way bigger events. Then there's also just your single DJ person. And so my first thing would be, what DJ do you want to be? And the style of music you're going to be playing at weddings and corporate events, it's going to be open format, but it's going to be older hits, right? 2000s hip hop, 90s, 80s, 70s music. Oh, there's Tess. So just different styles of music. And there's nothing wrong with trying all 3. You can try all three and see which one you like and do it. You don't have to just go all in. Try all three and see what you like. For me, I am an event DJ because the financial success is awesome. The pay is better than anything, unless you've quote unquote made it and you're touring the world and you're just playing what you want. And so I'm an event DJ. I play weddings, I play corporate events, I play bar bat mitzvahs, quinceaneras, do it at anything. And then I also an electronic house, disco, Afro house DJ because that's the music I love. One pays me, one does not. And they both, in a sense, feed my soul. What equipment do you need? That's a huge loaded question. My best advice, if you're getting into DJing or anything in life, go cheap. I always think it's silly when someone finds a hobby and they throw $3,000 in there. You don't need to do that. For me personally, I got a controller for like $150. I already have a laptop. There's different softwares there. Serato is great. That's an industry standard. A lot of people use that. Tractor is great. I have a lot of friends who use Tractor, and it also has its own controller. I use DJ Pro. And for those that don't know what a controller is what people also call a mixer. It has the two circles on it that look like a turntable. It has knobs that'll let you affect the music with different effects. And you can get them for cheap. You don't need to spend, in my opinion, $900 on your first setup. And you can do that at home and you can practice and see if you enjoy DJing just in general before you go further into the hobby. So that's my advice, is just go cheap and just see if you like it. If you do like it, depending on the different route you go, there's different equipment and setup that you would need.
Totally. And I guess like within the event space that you've found your niche in, do you have like a favorite type of event that you enjoy playing more than others? Are you partial to one, or does it just kind of vary based on the vibe and who your client is?
Favorite event? I've probably done 200 overall weddings, corporate events, bar bat mitzvahs, quinceaneras, birthday parties, anniversaries. They're all really special and they fill my soul, surprisingly. Like some artists will look down on being an event DJ because you have to play Michael Jackson or Bruno Mars. But you're going to get paid 3 times more than you would at the club. And most people have, if you're a full-time DJ, you've got to do one or the other when you start out. And B, I'll never forget a wedding that I played where there was the grandma and grandmother, the sweetest older couple that were in their like 90s. And I played Louis Armstrong's La Vie en Rose. And this couple had not danced in 30 to 40 years. And
you got them off their feet?
I got them off their feet with La Vie en Rose. Like Louis, his horn is undeniable. And when they got up to go to the dance floor, everyone noticed. It was a big deal, and there was a standing ovation. And everyone left the dance floor so they could have it to themselves. And it was a mixture of emotions for me, and I felt meaning in my life more than I felt at legal or at a call center corporate world. And nothing against that, but that just fed my soul. And I love weddings. I'm good at weddings, so I enjoy doing them. But I mean,
can confirm.
Yeah, I don't really have one favorite. It really kind of depends on the vibe and the group, and you just never know what you're gonna get. You're always wrong. You think I went into it thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a challenge, and then they're just raging, and then sometimes, it's you never can figure out the crowd, and it's always a surprise.
Totally. So another question I want to get to, because I also, in case other people have some questions, I want to give a little bit of time for that at the end.
Cool.
With everything that's going on right now, us living in a time of a pandemic and I'm sure the whole nature of weddings changing, and are people still having weddings right now? Are things getting pushed back? How is Full Scope been responding to the current times, and where do you kind of see yourselves moving forward?
Yeah, good question. Shout out to my boy Phil. Phil does it. Is here. Love that guy.
What's
One of
up,
our best,
Phil?
one of our
Thanks for
most
coming.
talented DJs. Um, so how has Full Scope dealt with this incredible pandemic? And are weddings happening? And how are we going to move forward? Um, I read that Stephen King had to apologize to the planet for everyone feeling like they're in a bad Stephen King novel. And I laughed really, really hard when I read that. And that's exactly what it was like for me. And I think everyone in the beginning. And it was scary. And the wedding market doesn't really know what to fully expect.
Hmm.
Um, and what we had to do, there were 40 events that we had in March, April, and May, and of course almost all 40 postponed. um, and it's a lot of extra work, and we're not getting paid, of course, extra, but I didn't charge any client a penny for doing that because this isn't their fault. um, and it's really tough on their end. Like, imagine that this is the biggest day of their life. They've been planning this for their whole entire life. They met the person they love. They're about to get married, and a global pandemic hits. So I've spent many hours on the phone, um, you know, sharing empathy, and I understand where they're coming from and changing their date. What happened to Full Scope is all of those events are now happening, 35 of the 40 in the fall and the spring of 2021. And it was a lot of headache and hell. And some DJs, of course, weren't still available, but other DJs were and were flexible. Um, and God willing, we're going to do the events in the fall. Um, right now, I've read somewhere that the governor said that venues could be at 25%. Will that open up faster? I have no idea and don't have a crystal ball. I have a wedding next Saturday at Casablanca. Shout out to Casablanca. They pretty much made my career.
Great venue.
Love Daniel and Cynthia, the owners. That was like the first wedding venue I came up at, and so I have one coming up. And ironically, it's for a coworker from LegalZoom, so it's all full circle.
That's amazing.
And it's going to be really awkward. I actually was hanging out with a friend, and we were able to stop by different places, and everyone's doing the 6 feet, and the DJs are still having to be on the microphone, but like,
Does it get muffled because you're wearing a mask?
it's muffled, like in my situation, if people go onto the dance floor, do I have to tell them to get off of it? Do I have to be like, yeah, let's party, but at a safe distance? Like,
Hmm.
everyone stays 6 feet apart.
Yeah. Don't play
I
that Louis Armstrong song because everyone might erupt and all dance together.
You
Don't
know
let that
what?
happen.
I will have to not play good. I can't play Earth, Wind, and Fire
Yeah.
September because that's gonna break that rule.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know what to really expect, other than I know my expectations is to wear a mask the whole day, to wear BSI, so gloves if I can, um, clean my gear before I go and back, give people 6 feet, make announcements. I don't really know what to expect outside of that, like, other than what I'm supposed to be doing and hope the venue's doing, right?
Hmm.
Because they have their own rules, and that's not my full responsibility to make that sure that they're doing it. But I mean, Casablanca has been here for a long time. They're very professional. They've been reading that playbook through in and throughout, so I'm more than confident they're going to be prepared and ready to go. but we still have to manage the guests. And so it's going to be interesting. I don't think any of the wedding or event DJs are really know what's going to happen, but it's coming in the next weeks. Weddings are happening.
Yeah. Well, for anyone who's trying to get into DJing or the event space, weddings are happening. So contact your local wedding DJ bookers, some of whom might be on this call if you may be looking at that path. With the few minutes that we have, I wanted to see if anyone has any questions. So we're going to do this 4th grade style. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. And then we can.
I think your dad's trying to say something.
Is he? No.
No.
I might unmute anyway because you always have good questions, Dad.
One last question.
Yeah.
Going once.
I was just going to say it's a very challenging time. Challenge is the operative word.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that wisdom into the call.
How is Arizona? Are you guys in Arizona right now?
We are. We're in Tucson, just like a little northwest of Tucson. It's called Oro Valley.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's crazy because they opened the state and people are not observing social distancing all the time and they're not masking up all the time. So it's challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm all at risk,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Mrs. Colt, it's so good to see your beautiful face. How was Zumba? Did you do Zumba today or?
I actually, I am lucky. The nice thing about this pandemic is we discovered Zoom and I'm able to take my old class in New York every Sunday morning. So that's nice. But my own practice is totally virtual now. It's all YouTube and stuff. But yeah, still trying to get, that's the release we all need, you know? So yeah.
I think a last thing to maybe cap this off on is, of course, like the first thing is my heart and prayers go to anyone that has been struggling, lost a loved one. We're all in this together, and I feel like we are all connected in that sense. And for the first responders and their nothing less than heroic response, people came from all over America to New York to battle this. And you know, if we're able to, I wish we could have a big celebration for them. Might not be safe, but something nice would be nice to be done for them. But in some interesting and strange ways, there have been some positives. And for me, I've been able to kind of take a pause. For me, I was going out too much. I was drinking too much. I was so involved in the scene, and you just throw events and you're doing 4 or more, and they're not like wedding or corporate events. They don't always pay well. And for me, I'm able to spend more one-on-one time with the people I love. My parents, of course, from 6 feet, like I'll run my bike to their house and I'll be in the lawn, but we'll just talk and spend time together. Andy and I rode bikes to the river, you know, and that was really, really special. I've been producing more than I've ever produced in my life. I got signed by my first record label, and and they're from Italy, Soul Treasure Records. The release is coming up soon. None of that would have happened. And so I think it's what we take out of it and what we get out of it, and trying to find the positives in this tragedy and try to grow from it. And in some odd ways, I've really grown, and I hope to keep these good habits even when things open back up. Stretching in the morning, gratitude, meditation. I don't want to lose it when it all goes back to normal. And I think that's the one, sad to say, beautiful thing of all of this. And for those that, you know, have had to stay home, hopefully we got something out of it.
Wise words, man.
Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. Few last things just for well, actually, you had mentioned a really nice point about wanting to celebrate for all the healthcare workers and individuals, people that are the first responders, and taking care of anyone who is either suffered or dealing with the pandemic. But that also brings us to the organization that we're doing relief and charity work for this month is Direct Relief. So on directrelief.org, you can either go there directly and contribute funds, or through our Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal handles, which I'll drop back in the Twitch comments once we get back into that. That also helps support our artists. So, any money that's contributing to there till the end of the month would go towards Steven, would go towards our other artists that we've been featuring for this month, and then also proceeds would go to them. But yeah, that's certainly something that we like to keep in mind, is, who we can raise relief and money for. So in a sense, the set that you played, this conversation, raising this awareness, bringing everyone together, is going towards those people, organizations, in the best way that we can. I know we're all going to be super excited to be able to see one another and gather like we used to. But I think, there's going to have to be some changes. And I think, spot on, the habits that you've been able to grow and develop, hold on to those, keep growing them, develop even, fresher ones as time comes and you're evolving more, because things aren't going to return the way they used to. So we all have to continue to evolve and grow. Last thing, just before I'm going to end the live stream of this, at least, so that Pablo Muzi3k from Costa Rica can start streaming. But for everyone who's still on here,
del mindfulness y del positivismo es tóxico realmente, no es una pose, creo que eso es tóxico. Creo que todo el rollo de Mr. Wonderful y que el rollo de puedes conseguir todo lo que te proponga, de la película esa famosa, el libro ese del secreto, o sea, eso es tóxico. A mí no me interesa un carajo sonar en la radio. Del mindfulness y del positivismo es tóxico realmente, no es una pose, creo que eso es tóxico. Creo que todo el rollo de Mr. Wonderful y que el rollo de puedes conseguir todo lo que te proponga, de la película esa famosa, el libro ese del secreto, o sea, eso es tóxico. Eso es tóxico, el ser humano empeora con esos comportamientos. Y la gente cree que mejora y que sale el día a día y se enfrenta a la vida mejor, es peor. Estoy completamente convencido de eso. Yo soy una persona, la gente no se lo cree, pero yo soy una persona feliz dentro de lo que se puede ser feliz. A mí no me interesa un carajo sonar en la radio. Odio esa mierda. La gente no se lo cree, pero yo soy una persona feliz dentro de lo que se puede ser feliz, siendo un tío pesimista, negativo, que me gusta el humor negro, lo cínico, lo irónico, la sátira, y creo que todos esos géneros viven del desencanto. Yo soy de Enrique San Francisco. A mí me hace gracia Enrique San Francisco. A mí no me hace gracia un youtuber, ¿sabes? Ni me hace gracia, ni me mejora el día un tipo muy gracioso, muy dicharachero, que se levanta a las 7 de la mañana con energía y me cuenta una película para que yo mejore como persona.
Y la frase de la galleta.
Odio esa mierda. A mí no me interesa un carajo sonar en la radio. Odio esa mierda.
She said, hey, something wrong, it's popping. I said, what? She said, yeah. I said, no. So
Ain't no
Don't you know I'm loco? Trying to keep it secret. Don't you know I'm loco?
There's a void where there should be ecstasy. 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 Ecstasy, 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 ecstasy.
fucking cocktail, baby, because we about to booty bop rum shake. If you in here with your fucking good Judy, your friend, your sister, and that bitch in here, she been boring, tap that on the shoulder and say, bitch, it's time for us to shake. It's on us right now. Because you're hard. If your friend in here and she being boring, put your hand over that whole head and say, this bitch right here, she should have stayed home. Cause bitch, we come to shake. Down, bitch. Oh, CJ. Go get your fucking cocktail, baby, because we about to booty bop rum shake. If you in here with your fucking good Judy, your friend, your sister, and that bitch in here, she been boring, tap that on the shoulder and say, bitch, it's time for us to shake. It's on us right now. If your friend in here and she been boring, put your hand over that whole head and say, this bitch right here, she should have stayed home. Cause bitch, we come to shake. Down, bitch. Oh, CJ.
for. Maybe all you need is a shoulder to cry on. That you're the kind of guy that I should make a move on. I would like to get to know if I could be the kind of girl that you could be down for. 'Cause when I look at you, I feel something tell me that you're the kind of guy that I should make a move on.
Show me what you're working with.